This is Shepard. WeLoveMetal.com, and we're here in Chicago, outside the Concord Summer Slaughter Tour. We're blessed to have a chance to talk to Scott here from Carnifex. Thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk to your fans.
No problem, man. No problem.
You are a self-described tortured writer, and you write a lot of different things. Slow Death comes out, and I want to get into some of the lyrics in a second. Slow Death comes out in a couple days. What are your expectations for that album?
That's a difficult question, because I think you have what you hope happens and what you dream about happening, and you go, man, if this record can sell so many copies, it means we'll get these tours, and it means this, and it means that. That's kind of what bounces around in your head. And then the other side is nobody buys records anymore. Everybody's first weeks that have come out lately have been down. And I guess we're just going to be down too. And I guess this sort of is what it is. So I think having an expectation, it's good to have goals.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's also, the thing about the music business is it loves to let you down. So I try not to have an expectation. I'm glad the feedback we've been getting from the fans has been great. Which I feel like lately fans are so critical on bands, and the newest album from everybody has been getting all this negative feedback, so to have positive feedback is a minor miracle in itself, I think. So I'm really happy to have that. And these shows that we've been playing, we're just a support band, but they feel like headline shows sometimes. I mean, I feel like that whole crowd out there knows us, which that's about the best you could hope for,
Like I said, I just came from in there, and there are a lot of fans there with your guys' merch on, and the merch table is doing some work, which of course you guys all need, and I get that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, before we get to talk more about the album, that's the L train. That's not the bands yet.
Edit that right out.
But as far as business concerned, I bought a bundle online. Is that the best way to funnel? That's like funnel, but to get money to you guys straight away versus middleman.
Yeah, basically, Nuclear Blast is really awesome, and they let us have our own web store, so that's one thing that makes that label different from so many other labels. So many labels, they're doing these deals where they get your merchandise, so they get a portion of it. NB doesn't do, they just let us say, hey, your merch is you do whatever the hell you want with it. So the stores we have through Indie Merch, which is North America, and then through Vericon, which is Europe and UK and Australia, that money goes to us. So yeah, buying through there, the only place that money goes is to pay for what we printed through Indie Merch and then to us.
Good.
So that's the best way to help us out.
Okay, so you heard that, people. Indie Merch, that's where I got my bundle. It came in 3 or 4 days. Great price, great stuff. It's good stuff. Let's get to the album here. I am a teacher, and I have writers in my classroom that get frustrated with the curriculum that we're forcing down their throats. As a writer and an artist, what is your advice to those young minds that they've got a talent, they've got the passion, but God, they just get so crunched into what we box them into?
Well, it's funny you mentioned you're a teacher. My mom is an English teacher.
Okay.
She recently retired this past school year, but she was an English teacher for 25 years.
Very nice.
So, when I was, I dropped out of high school, so I'm already a poor example. And for me, what it was is I just didn't know what I wanted. I was too young. I had all this, my parents had just gotten divorced, and I didn't have any friends at school, zero. And so I just didn't want to be there, and so I just left. But, for me, it was about, I didn't know what I wanted. And I didn't know, I always wanted to be able to express myself. And I didn't know that I could do it with writing. I know that sounds dumb, but I was just ignorant to that. I was ignorant to what writing was. I always thought writing was book report.
Sure.
Or writing was a paper on some history lesson that was irrelevant to me. I didn't know that writing could be the expression of things you can't say to other people. So it took me time to find that. And I think for me, I came to writing through film and television. Again, I know it sounds dumb, but when it dawned on me that, like, oh, somebody wrote Indiana Jones. Like, oh shit, like, Robert Zemeckis wrote Back to the Future. Like, I didn't know that when I was young.
Sure.
And then I was like, wow, like, you can tell story. Like, I guess I always pictured writing as like these old dusty novels.
Sure.
And I'm just like, man, I'm not writing about like all these like these books you got to read in school.
Grapes of Wrath and
yeah, it's like what? If that's writing, that's boring as hell, right? But then I was like, you know, like Goosebumps and Hardy Boys, and then like those movies that impacted me early on, Jaws and Indiana Jones and you know, Space Odyssey 2001. Like, when I realized, like, oh, those guys are all storytellers, like, that's when I really started to latch onto writing and being a lyricist. And being a lyricist is it's good training wheels for being a writer. Because it's kind of, it gives you a framework to work inside of. And it's not, you know, like storytelling and narrative, you're really just out lost at sea, and you gotta read the stars and find your own way. But when you're writing within the confines of a song, I feel like it's a little bit more of a roadmap there, and it's a good place to start. It's like starting in the shallow end. So I started writing lyrics, and then from there, I moved to storytelling, and yeah, now I'm writing film and television, graphic novels and stuff.
You know, one of the things that I think you guys have, and you in particular have a real talent for is, again, I see students, saw my own child grow up with depression, cutting, self-mutilation, suicidal ideation, all these things that are super important and difficult to get through. And when I read a lot of your lyrics, I see kids drawing, you know, and writing them on their notebooks in study hall and this and that. How have you been able to touch them in such a personal way? Man, Slow Death, God damn, is that intense? It's intense in music, but intense in message.
Yeah.
How is it that you can do that so adeptly?
Well, you know, going back to being young, I was those kids. You know, like I didn't have any friends, any social circle whatsoever. I was not cool at all ever, and the only thing I had to relate to was music. That was when I would come home from school and just be frustrated and hate everyone and hate myself. It was 9 Inch Nails records, it was Manson records, it was Cradle of Filth records, it was Stevie Computer records. And that's where I related to. Like, that's what I connected with. So I think when I started to write, you write what you know what I mean? And you write the way you kind of, you get influenced into a certain style. And for me, Trent Reznor and 9 Inch Nails has probably been, even though I know it's not metal, like lyrically, it's probably been the most important band to me. And he has this way of focusing in on a moment of emotion and really pulling it apart and taking a single second or a single twinge of emotion and making that an entire song. So I kind of take that same approach, and it's really going into the micro level of emotions and trying to dissect it from every angle.
Very good.
And you know, when you're creating art, I think regardless of the medium, whether it's music or painting or whatever it is, I think the whole point is you want to create a reaction and make somebody feel something. And for me, the way to do that is to write about the things I've experienced and try to relate to those people that have also experienced those things. So I just write from the heart about stuff I've dealt with in the past and dealt with presently. And I just make sure that there's integrity there. And then some people connect with it and some people don't.
How have you guys grown musically? Because it's one thing to have a message, but if the delivery isn't there, people won't listen to the message anyway. And, you know, Slow Death, in my humble opinion, is the best album you guys have ever made.
In my humble opinion as well. I agree. I think it's the best one we've done too. Well, here's the thing about Carnifex. It's like nobody is like a trained musician. None of us took music classes. We're just fans that they never stopped. You know? So, when me and Sean started the band, I mean, he's a drummer. And we had trouble finding guitarists, so he just figured out how to play guitar. And so, I mean, that's what, and to this day, he writes the majority of the music, you know, and he's never taken a guitar lesson in his life. You know what I mean?
That's inspiring, though.
Yeah, it is. And I think we just, I mean, for me, it's just about listening. So you know, like Sean and Jordan, those guys are more like technical as far as they're looking at the scales, they're looking at what harmonies work together, those types of things. Where me, I'm looking at the emotional side. I'm saying, well, what is this scale making you feel? What kind of tone are we creating? And that was a big important thing for us when we were doing Slow Death, which was making sure that we have continuity in our tone the entire time. Even though each song has its own individual identity, making sure that mood, that tone, that theme was there from beginning to end. And that's why we did so many rewrites on all the songs. There's only 10 songs on the album. We rewrote each song probably 10 times.
Oh, wow.
You know, so that's why it took us 28 months to write that record. It's because we had to keep going through it over and over again, and really we wouldn't say, all right, that song's on the record, till from beginning to end there wasn't one part that we felt was worthy on the record. So if there's even one little part, even if we've been working on that song for months, just say, well, we still gotta fix it. Even though you're like, God damn, I'm sorry, I'm sick of working on that song. I got no more ideas for that thing. We've rewritten it into the ground, but it's like, it's still that part. We still got to fix it. And so we just did that constantly on every song. And that's how the album got to where it is. And we had a vision. I think that's important. Yeah, I think when you're creating anything, you have to have a vision. You have to, and even if that vision's ambiguous and it's just, well, I want people to feel X, you know, you have to know where you're going. And with Slow Death, we really knew what we wanted. We knew we wanted the album to be very dark. We knew we wanted it to really capture that tone of isolation and that, like, absolute despair. So you use those things as guideposts when you're writing, when you're doing arrangements, lyrically, musically. All those things, they help send you down your path. You know, so if we were to just sit down and said, what kind of record do we want to write? And we were like, I don't know. We'll just see what happens. We wouldn't have ended with the same record.
Sure.
You know, we really knew what we wanted, in an abstract way, and it just took us 2.5 years to get there.
Very good. Well, I know your time is valuable. We've got a lot of fans coming by, waving. Good deal. We'll let you go on this question, and again, thank you for your time. I know it's precious. We are outside of the Concord here, Summer Slaughter Tour, Carnifex. It rolls on after tonight, so make sure you get out there. 2 days from now, the album drops, Slow Death. Make sure you pick that up as well and support. Last question for you here. I saw you a few years ago, Milwaukee, and I was captivated by your energy on stage. A lot of the lyrics, a lot of the message, a lot of there's like you said, darkness, oppression, isolation. How do you manage what could draw you into, I don't know, isolation and not wanting to express, to you're on stage, you're a maniac on stage. How do those two things gel and jive?
Well, I mean, you have a couple things going on. Like, you have the music, you have the lyrics. All those things have a lot of meaning. And then you have the performance, which they do go together hand in hand in the sense that when I write lyrics and when I'm arranging songs, I have to believe in the song, because otherwise I'm just doing an act. So, yeah, we're playing the same song every night, and it does mute some of those emotions from the initial writing to a degree. But, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. So a lot of what you're seeing is before we even get to the stage, which is writing music that you believe in and writing lyrics that matter to you. So that's that part. So that's partially why there, because I really believe in the performance of the song and the emotion there. And then there's the other side of it, which is it's a live show. To me, I look at like bands before our time, like Kiss and Motley Crue and King Diamond, and bands now like Ghost, Rob Zombie. All those bands, like, they're good bands, of course. They write good songs. They're not necessarily exceptional songwriters. I mean, they're good songwriters. But what was it that made people want to go see them? It was that they really gave an entertaining show. They had that performance. It wasn't just 5 dudes at band practice that happened to be on stage.
Gotcha.
It was a performance.
Well said.
It was expression. It was theater, and that's where I come from. Is a live theater background. So I was doing drama all in junior high and high school. That was like kind of my only safe space was live theater, like as a young person, and it was always about putting on that performance, So I'd say it's the difference between reading a book kind of flatly or seeing it perform. It's for me when we're on stage, that's the performance. That's the show. That's the theater of the music that we've written. So that's why it is what it is. That's why it's at 10, and that's why it has all of that energy. I'm doing an interview right now. Can you give me like 5 minutes? Thank you. That's why it is what it is. Because there's that energy in those songs, but we also are trying to give a real performance to the fans as well.
Well, you're in high demand out here on the street, inside.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted it.
Everyone wants you. We know why. Carnifex, Summer Slaughter. Again, thank you for your time. Thanks for the sincerity in what you do and how you do it. It certainly comes through.
I appreciate it.
Slow down, people.